welcome. I have met every one of you already. We've all spoken. Some of you have been on a longer journey with than others. But just to reintroduce myself, my name is Åsa Borg, and I will be your head coach for the next 12 months, which I'm very, very excited about. Just a couple of things to check before we begin, just making sure you have a paper and pen. It is the strong recommendation, if not a requirement, to always bring your favorite journal and a pen, because it's what I do with these live coaching calls is that I teach as much as I coach. So there is a lot of journal prompts. There will be a lot of conversations that I will group you into smaller groups. And through this, because I really know that something that's very, very important is to feel into something or try something on for ourselves in order for it to resonate. It's a huge difference between reading something and knowing something to actually practicing that. So when you have your journal, you will be able to write down anything that comes up in terms of journal prompts, but maybe something that you want to go and revisit, or you felt into, this really came up for me. That's really interesting. I really want to sit with that. This is a word I haven't really come across as I feel into my body before. Maybe it's a question you want to ask me at the next Q&A and so forth. And also a couple of bits about the portal. We can see that everyone has now created your profile, which is great. It's again an invitation to create, if you haven't already done so, your introductory video, again for you to practice your courage and really meet yourself. But it's again, because it's a community of like-minded women, it's really important that we all just start to get to know each other and connect. And it's always a good practice as well for you to really show up and to share as well. And I am sure I've mentioned this many, many times, but I am in Costa Rica. And I love this for many reasons. The lighting isn't so good, and I've kind of created a little desk here for myself in our bedroom. But what is more important than that is the fact that the reason why it really means a lot to me is because about 5-6 years ago, when I started my journey, and when I didn't know it at the time, but who then became one of my coaches, I really made a decision that I was about 3 months into my first company. And I really made a decision then and there. I was like, this woman who then became my coach, I was like, she runs this really successful business. She is in Mexico with her family and little children. I would love to be able to create that. I don't have children yet, but everything else I have created 5 years in. So for me, it's a really big moment to actually be able to have this call from Costa Rica with women who I am so proud that I have called in, because you're all amazing, and I can't wait for all of you to make the connections with each other as well. And what I would love for you to do, so this is the first quick practice before we begin, is to simply write down 3 things that you are grateful for and why. So just take a few moments to write down, what am I grateful for and why? Leave that for a couple of more moments. So just finishing up your final sentence. And something that we're going to talk a lot about that today, but something that I really invite you to start to become aware of is, depending on what you say to yourself, or just a conversation you're having, or what you're writing, or what you're thinking about, just start to really notice a shift in your body. You start to become really, really aware of how certain words make you feel, how certain memories make you feel, how certain sentences make you feel. Just take that one step further, even though we're thinking about something, to just start to notice, where in my body am I feeling this? How does this make me feel? That's a very good invitation to do, not just today, but this is something that the more you get to know me and my style of coaching and teaching, we're doing a lot of this as well. Where in the body are you feeling it? How are you feeling? What is coming up for you? And as we get started, every time I'm going to go through this because it's really, really important. We do have some house rules. And in a few moments, I'm also going to create a few breakout rooms. So you're going to have a few prompts in what you can share with each other. But don't worry, I'm not just going to talk for the next hour or so. But before we go into that, it's very important around the house rules. So the first is around self-responsibility. So it's really feeling into how are you feeling today? How do you choose to show up for yourself in today's session? But it's not just about today, it's every session that you attend. And confidentiality, you can share far and wide everything that I share, but everything else that anyone else shares stays in this container. You can speak about my experiences and you can speak about your own experience, but everything else stays in here so that everyone just feels very safe to fully share what comes up for them and to also feel your edge. As a coach, something that I do a lot and what I want you to start doing with yourself as well, because I'll explain that a little bit further. Depending on who you speak to, they'll tell you that change happens outside the comfort zone. But if you speak to anyone that is more well-versed in trauma-informed coaching or nervous system and feeling into how our emotional state is, they will tell you the opposite. So somewhere in the middle, I believe that the magic happens, and it's for you to feel into where is your edge of trying something new, of sharing something with the group, of admitting something with yourself. If you're feeling completely stretched to the point that you're panicking, it's too high, just take it down a few points so that you feel comfortable. But something that I share a lot is like somewhere where we feel excited and a little bit scared is normally a good ingredient for change. But it's very important, especially because we're in a group, that you feel into where am I sitting in this particular exercise. And this also depends on how you're feeling on the day. What happened before our call, what's happening tomorrow. So this is a day by day thing. And this is why it's so important that you just feel into how am I feeling? Where is my capacity today? How courageous do I feel today? And if it's more courageous or less courageous, it's not a bad thing. It just is. But it's very important that you start to just feeling into your own edge and to participate actively as well. Really engage. It's not for me, it's not for others, it's for you. The more that you engage, the more that you share, the more that you show up, the more that you interact, the more you will immerse yourself in this experience. And I know this from having coached hundreds of women, and I, of course, have done personal development since I was very young. The people that get the best results are the most that are more immersed in the experience. So it's not for me, of course, I love when you share, it's absolutely my favorite, but it's my invitation to you to really meet yourself in exercises, sharing prompts, observation, just anything that is out there. And this is really for you to make a commitment to yourself. Another good practice is as well, if I share something, but more importantly, I would say if someone else shares something about their experience, if you can resonate, it's just a nice practice to just put your hand up. It's just showing that I see you. Perhaps you can relate to her experience. It's just a really nice best practice as we, again, just creating a community where everyone is just showing up. And it's also amazing to feel that other people have had the same or similar experience, so we know we're not alone. I'll promise you that you're definitely not alone in your experience, and I promise there is nothing wrong with you, there's nothing you've done wrong. It's just a journey of continue to bring awareness to how am I reacting, responding, and showing up in this moment, you know. So yes, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to create a breakout room. And what I want you to discuss in this, or just share rather, is these two questions. So what did you learn about yourself that expanded you in 2022? And what are you bringing into this new experience of 2023? So what did you learn that expanded you last year? What are you bringing into this new beginning of 2023? And as you're sharing, again, you feel your edge on how much. I know everyone pretty much is new to each other here. It's again to feel into your edge about how vulnerably you want to share. But my invitation is sharing what actually matters to you and not what you think you should say. You know, if you feel called to share a specific thing, then that is the courage to share exactly that, for you to just show up for yourself. So over time, we'll definitely continue to speak about, this is something that I think I should do in order to be accepted. This is something that I've been taught on how I should do to be a good girl and know everything. But this is actually my most authentic self in this moment, and I'm gonna honor that version of me. Cool. So I'm gonna, in a few moments, just set you into breakout rooms, and then I'll call you back. And because we're a group of people, we're going to have a time limit of maximum 3 minutes per share. So just keep that time boundary to yourself and also your fellow person who is, you can just, either put a timer on or just, check the time and something like that. But time boundaries overall is very, very important, but also time boundaries for the purpose of that we're more than one. Has anyone got any questions on that? Okay. All right, just leave it with me when I'm just creating all of this. So okay, so I'm going to create 4 different breakout rooms. You will be assigned automatically, and then I'm going to bring you all back. I think it gives you normally like a 60-second notification as well. And yeah, enjoy. Welcome back. Oh, that was all done in one go. Very impressive. So today we're going to talk a lot about creating the vision and becoming an energetic match to that creation. And I want to start with talking a little bit about how do we become vibrational full stop. So when it comes to being high frequencies, we have high energy, high vibe, we are calling out, we are putting it out there what we would love to create, and we start to see over time little beliefs that matches to that reality. They are quite similar. So no matter who you speak to, whether that be in love or more pleasure or more sex or more money, more success, the principle on how to become high vibe is quite similar across the board. But because you are unique, it's very, very important, again, that you feel into what is true for you, what works for you. Really coming back to what is my most authentic version of me, and then to take full responsibility of how am I living my life? What thoughts am I thinking? What actions am I taking? What am I doing? What am I not doing? Again, not from a place at all to fault ourselves, but just to take that radical self-responsibility and just owning, I knew I could have done something differently today and I didn't, and that's okay. I understand the reason why I did it is X. Today I did this, and that feels fucking amazing. I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to cheer myself on in the process. So it's really the word you do you on a very deep level. And here are some questions that I want you to continue to ask yourself. You can either just feel into them now. You don't need to necessarily write them out, or if you want to unmute yourself and share. What makes you truly come alive? What are you doing in your life that makes you feel alive, vibrant, turned on? What makes your soul go, oh my fuck, yes, I want this and I want more of it? And the second one is very important, because creating what you would love is about doing, but it's actually also, if not more important, to learn how to receive. So as you're creating your life right now and also the future that makes you come alive, and this is why I'm saying you are unique. So what does that look like for you? Also, what habits are you committing to that make you feel rested, that makes you feel peaceful? You can also use the word content, and playful. So these three elements over and over again is something that we see that has a really high quality towards being high vibe, high energy, and become a really powerful manifester towards what it is that we want to create, full stop. And my new phrase for 2023, if you haven't noticed already, is bigger than life. So what makes you feel bigger than life, excited about your life right now? Something that what I spoke about a lot end of last year is very important to absolutely align with the future or future self. But it can be quite easy in the work that we're so focused on the future and what we need to let go of, we forget the now. We forget about just being deeply present. So here are some questions. Either if you want to, you can simply unmute yourself and share what comes up for you. Or just take these as journal prompts for a little bit later. But these elements are really, really important to just become high vibe, full stop. So just leave a moment if someone wants to share anything or something that you noticed last year or something you committed to that you want to do this year.
For me, like just everything to do with music, like listening to music, singing, writing music, dancing, going out, like everything.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really, as you say, it's everything, writing it, experiencing it, dancing to it. Beautiful. Great.
I definitely think the thing that is making me feel the most happy at the moment is giving myself time to read my history magazine. That was a Christmas present from my friend, and it's so ridiculous, but I'm learning so many new facts every single time I read it, and that makes me feel really excited because if someone's like, do you have a fun fact? I'm like, yes, I've got several, for the first time in ages, and that makes me feel that makes me feel joyous.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just finding these things where it's like, new hobbies, new interests, and it's like, go do more of that. And then that makes you feel, in a certain way as well. And I don't know who I spoke to recently, and she was like, I have so many random facts. I don't know how I know it, but it's like pub quizzes are your game in the future, I am sure. So yeah, it's again just to find, and it's like it can be, big things, but it can also be like when I interact with this type of song or literature or magazine or whatever, it makes me feel really good. It's like last year I really recognized, I had no idea how happy and expansive the color purple made me feel. Now everything is like, even for my birthday, I bought some like suede purple trainers just because I could, and I was like, these make me feel really, really good. Beautiful. So we just had Andri shared trying new things and new experiences, traveling at the beach and hot weather, exercising and salsa dancing as well, and music. Beautiful. And then again, it's like taking that radical self-responsibility for how do I show up for myself. So a vibrant woman is an embodied woman with a strong sense of self who waits for no one to enlighten her. The vibe of 2023 and beyond is this: we shine from within by being unapologetically ourselves. When we learn to really accept ourselves and embrace ourselves for who we are, big shifts happening. And you'll be introduced to Mel next week around breathwork. And something that she shared with me last year, which I really, really love, is the idea of taking and just asking yourself, what would I like to try on? I like when she started, she was doing a workshop that I attended, and she talked about, what I'm just going to try this on. I'm going to try on reading this magazine. I'm going to try on this color. I'm going to try on expressing myself in this way. And it's a really quite inviting way to look at just rediscovering ourselves, and quite, for me in a way, non-threatening, you know, it needs to be this way. It's like, I'm just going to try this on and just see how that feels. And coming back to yourself as well. So if you don't already, I'm definitely gonna ensure that you have a morning routine. But to just, if you haven't already, if you do have one, no matter how you start in this moment, to also create a practice to really love yourself. And what I mean by that, it can be speaking to yourself in a certain way in the morning. When you do something that you're proud of, it doesn't matter what that is, just acknowledge it and just take, even for a second, a moment out of your time to just like, I really love that about myself. I really appreciate how I showed up for myself. Just really embody this as well, because the embodied woman is a very strong sense of self. This is who I am. This is what I am about. But it's also, well, as I mentioned in the beginning, is taking that radical full responsibility of self to go, how am I showing up for myself in the life that I am creating? And creating the vision and becoming an energetic match for that. And this is going to be a big part of your journey with me, is understanding our limiting beliefs, our stories, our patterns, our conditioning. So we're not going to spend too much time on this today. I have an exercise in a few moments so you get a little bit clearer about what that is. But this is fundamentally the biggest shift that we can do in understanding what our own perceived limitations are, noticing them, and continue to release. This is a big part of the journey. So step one, what am I willing to release? Here is a journal prompt that will allow you to gain some insight on that. So you simply fill in the blanks. The most important thing I can do for my future is to release the belief that, fill in, so that I can clear space and invite in, fill in the blanks. So just take a few moments. And if you don't exactly know what this is yet, don't worry, you will become crystal clear. And it may be various things as well. Just feel into, in this moment, what comes up for you. And if you want to sit on that a little bit and afterwards as well, if it doesn't come to you, that is okay as well. So the most important thing I can do is to release X in order to invite in X. And how to start to recognize your story. We're going to do another set of questions that I want you to ask yourself, and always with the deepest level of vulnerability back to you. So we're going to take about 5-7 minutes for this one. So again, you fill in the blanks. What I would love to create in my love life over the next 12 months is, this is important because of the real reason why I don't unapologetically share this with the world is because this is often, you know, the limiting beliefs we start to go in there, or the perceived limitation that we hold. The conversations I have with myself that I don't really want to admit are, when things doesn't go the way I hoped, I tell myself that X, Y, Z. So I'll keep an eye on time, and we'll simply go through. Just opening up if anyone wants to share what came up or what you noticed.
I surprised myself with the last one, because when something doesn't go the way I'd hoped, what I tell myself is that initially my mind went failed, and then I was like, shut up, that's not true. And instead I wrote, I tried my best, because I think last year I would have been, beating myself up about things and being mean to myself and saying that I failed. And I'm like, that is not true. And I'm definitely in the place where I'm like, you know what? I tried my best, then I'll try again. And that's it.
Snaps for Annie, love that. And what a beautiful awareness as well, to just like, this thought is coming to me per automatic, but actually I'm gonna stop that, and I've tried my best, you know. And also just like, I don't know if you notice, but it's again just like noticing that shift in your body, perhaps, where it's like either we're telling ourselves that I failed versus I did my best, you know. Can you feel like, just play with that as well, to just see like, does that feel different in your body? Does it make you feel more expansive, more light, more loving, you know, all these things as well. Beautiful. Great. We'll take one more share.
I kind of had a similar experience to Annie as well, in that I started with the first 3 and I was writing these and I thought, oh, it kind of felt like I was in my default mode, because I think for the most part I have clarity around those things, because they're things that I journal on and, you know, and add more awareness of. And I got to the conversations I have with myself part. And as I was writing it, I was like, wait, is this me writing this? Because normally the conversations I have with myself, past self, it's really horrible and harsh and judgmental. It's so self-critical. And then I realized as I was writing it, it's like, the conversations I'm having with myself lately are not that damning of myself any longer. I mean, they are still, but not
as
and
much.
not to the extent where they were before. So actually doing this has actually been quite a nice self-reflection as well. So
yeah, beautiful. And it's again just to continue to recognize where it's like, my automatic way of responding would be X, you know, normally I do this, and it's not my reality anymore. I've actually upgraded my own reality by talking to myself differently, you know, which is a huge flex. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brilliant, good. And just good that you share that as well. Just, you know, continue to celebrate that and notice, just continue to notice. And as you're doing exercises like this, and again, we're going to talk a lot about our dialogue with self, our inner critic, our perceived limitation, often from childhood or from previous relationships as well, with parents or even friends. When we start to recognize, this is how I speak to myself, or I believe that I am not good enough, I can't do this, I've failed, I've done something wrong, all these things, to continue to ask yourself these 2 questions. How much is this story no longer part of my future? So when you identify a limiting story, I say story, but this can be belief, conditioning, patterns, and something that is explicitly or implicitly shared with us. How much of this story that you have identified is no longer part of my future? And the second question to ask yourself, what am I willing to release around this story? And when we do the inner work, and this is why, you know, we do things for a long period of time, because we can work on one single thing that we have identified, and it's like 25 layers of that. So we continue to peel back the layers, continue to have awareness, continue to understand, continue to peel back. And this is why it's a very inviting way to ask ourselves, what do I feel willing? What am I ready to release? It's not even because there is certain things that we have identified that shifts happen from day 1 to day 2. You know, these things take time. And so once we understand our perceived limiting idea that we hold about ourselves, or what it is that we would love to create, the step 2 is to fiercely dream, is to create our vision. And making bold moves requires big clarity around what you actually desire to create. And the reason why I put actually I can't remember what it's called in English, but that type of words that really stands out, hopefully for you, is again to take that responsibility of, now I'm doing something because I think I should, or this is how I've always done things, or actually is this even mine? You know, this is something that parents have told me, or this is something that society tells me. So what actually makes your soul feel alive? You know, what matters to you? To again just continue to peel away those layers of what we think that we should do, to dial it up towards what makes us come alive. And I'm going to give you an example what I mean by bold clarity. So the example I'm going to show is not anything wrong with it. I'm just going to show you 2 examples. So here is an example. This is great, you know, as an example. I want to meet a conscious man. What I mean by bold clarity is for you to now feel into the difference of these 2 examples. So on one hand, it could be that I want to meet a conscious man versus a bold clarity. I am worthy of a relationship where I am heard, where we co-create an epic future based on our wildest dreams, where my emotions are celebrated and he holds me just as tightly after sex as he does after me ugly crying and me eating my weight in ice cream. So it's still, this is something, if I were to write this is what I have written. But this is something that I wrote the other week about, you know, what feels true for me as an important of a relationship. So as you notice the 2 difference, both is that I would love to be in a conscious man. I am with a conscious man, but continue to be with my conscious man. But the bold clarity is the one below. What do you notice in terms of the difference?
It's specific. It's not like, you know, general.
Yeah, very specific.
The details always matter.
Yes. Clarity, details. Yes.
I feel like there's so much weight to the second statement as well. Like you can kind of almost feel being that person, like you can see yourself taking on a role, like living it. 2-dimensional.
Yeah, the first one is about someone and something else. And the second one is about me, who I am, and how I want to feel.
Yeah, how I want to feel. You know, not only in my line of work as a coach, but I also used to be a matchmaker. So I have spoken to thousands of singles all over the world. And something that we see a lot is that people are not really clear about what it is that they want. So that is A, what is it that I want? What is that I actually want? And 2, how do I want to feel? And the reason why the feel element is important is that it gains clarity around traits. Who is the person I would want to be with, and why? You know, what is it that is important to me? So yeah, this is something that I wrote and I wanted to share with you. And the reason why, again, you know, how do I want to feel? The reason why this is important to me is because in previous relationships, I was never heard, never listened to, couldn't finish a sentence. My experience was that I just couldn't be who I was. And commitment, consistency, and living life to the fullest are some of my core values that I want to see in my person as well. I am a very emotional person, and I have always been, but it took me about 30 to 33 years to fully accept me as that. And I then made a decision to no longer suppress my feelings. I would always be very much honoring my feelings, and I need my person to be able to hold space, or at least not run away from it, to always continue to lean towards. And I'm also anxious in love. I'm more secure now from the work that I am doing, hence I teach this, but I can be very, very anxious in love. So I need a lot of closeness. I need to be able to consciously, you know, honor my feelings, but also sometimes eat my feelings. They're both equally as valid, as long as we're honoring and being fully responsible about what it is that we do. So this is why I wanted to write this example. And I actually didn't know it then, but this was even how I started to just intuitively work about 7 years ago. So about 7 years ago was when I had my breakdown, and my previous relationship had broken down. And 7 years ago was in therapy. I had taken a hiatus from men, full stop, because I just needed to understand who was I without pleasing other men all the time, because that's what used to be my default way of being. And even 7 years ago, I remember very specifically telling my therapist that I want to be attracted to an emotionally available man. And I said to her, and this just came up, who drinks chai tea latte and wears purple. The funny thing is, of course, well, is it funny or is it absolutely genius? I think a little bit of two, is that David loves wearing purple. He is a conscious, available man, and he drinks chai tea lattes all the time. So, but 7 years ago, the reason why this statement was important to me was because the chai drinking latte people was important, because I was drinking alcohol every day and I had no idea how to stop. So it was very important for me to just cut out drinking myself and then attract someone who could have a lifestyle where, because 7 years ago, that was almost unthinkable for me to be with someone who could just value and really appreciate that way of living. And purple was probably the color that I at the time could think of that no man could ever wear, but no man that I met I ever wanted to be with. So I was like, what's the right opposite? So that was kind of like, it was just a very, very interesting that David ended up to be exactly that person. So it's very important to create that, what is actually important to me, and to have that bold clarity. How do I want to feel comes into the traits that is important in myself, but also in the person that I spend my time with. And very often why we don't do this is because we're very afraid of admitting to ourselves about what we really, really want. A is because it's the way into vulnerability, which often, because of society, have kind of told us that that is a dangerous way of living. We should not do that. Or again, childhood or earlier love have made us feel like we build up a wall and we are not at all going to be hurt again. But again, it's coming back to that question, does it serve me? So opening ourselves up to love is some of the most beautiful, but also vulnerable, raw ways in how we can put ourselves out in the world. So it's to, again, take that courage to be really, really clear about what do we want, why, what is important to us. And something that I find in my line of work all the time as well, if we have been the woman that started as a little girl being the good girl or people pleasing, or from an early age understanding that if I look after other people's needs, then I am safe, even though it doesn't serve me. If this is because the majority of women have grown up this way, again, because of society, when she is an adult going, what do I want? We actually don't know, because we've been conditioned to think about others before we think about ourselves. So this is the time to really put yourself first and start to admit boldly, courageously, what really matters. And it really starts with a decision, you know. So what we're going to do is to take 5 minutes to write your own bigger than life statement. So what do you deeply desire to create in your love life? What would it look like to be bold about your own statements? And the reason why I love this as well is because our love life, because it is so vulnerable, can feel very serious. It's also okay that it feels fun. It's also okay that it feels playful. So just simply have a go with, for the next 5 minutes, just writing out what actually boldly, courageously matters to you, what you want to call in. A minute left. And of course, it's something that I really wanted to come back to often, continue to clarify, not necessarily update, but, you know, the more that you get to know yourself and the more that you feel into what makes you come alive and what you would love to create, you get to always yeah, upgraded based on the reality that you can see for yourself and where your edge is. You know, and it's also, as I mentioned, it's like bringing in that playfulness, you know, to have fun. If you can decide, which you can, whatever reality that you would love to create, that gets to be yours. The inner work is about creating that clarity and moving towards that. Who do I get to be today, the day after, in the next month, in the next year, in order to have that? But that, whatever that vision is for you, is yours for the taking. So you make it as wild, as bold, as playful as you would like. Right, would anyone like to share their boldly specific, courageous statement or vision, whatever you would like to call it?
I wrote, I want to create a life with a strong, emotionally deep and openly loving man who can hold me tight and want me tenderly in moments where we move effortlessly between passion and laughter. A partnership of ideas, thought-provoking truth and conversation in a house we built on a sofa we picked together.
Love that. Beautiful. Yeah, it's just, you know, you can hear it. There is so much more emotion and what's important to you in that, you know. Love that. Love that, building the house and picking the sofa. Being held tightly is one of my favorite things. Would anyone else like to share? We have a choice in believing that this is what I would want, and it is inevitable for me that this is going to be my reality. And I'll be here with you to align those two worlds, so that we are making decisions and choices that are in line with what we would love to create. And this is my next invitation for you. So as we have the vision, what does it sound like to remind yourself that this is possible for you? So this is what I would love to create. What do I choose to believe is possible in order to have the thing, i.e., the thing that you would love to create? What would it sound like for you to make you feel more expansive, safe, trusting that that is a reality that is inevitably yours? So I've just done a few examples of, you know, what it could sound like. The future I want is on someone else's vision board too. It's safe for me to speak up about what I want. The love I experience now is plentiful and is here to stay. The love I want is available to me. I can be all of me and still have what I want. Men are naturally drawn to me. So these are just some examples. You don't have to take exactly like this. Is again, is coming back to yourself. This is my vision. How can I remind myself that this is a reality that is already available to me? My job is to continue to align with the version, most authentic, true self, as in me, that gets to align with having, living, experiencing that. And once we find, I also call these emotional anchors. This anything that emotionally anchors us in, this is possible for me. I can do this. It's safe for me to do this. Just anything that makes you feel, to remind you that that is possible. And once you find this is going to be an important aspect as well, is to practice repeating this every day. I am really big on always having little reminders. I'm very big on vision boards. I'm very big on words. I have 2 different reminders on my phone. It doesn't pop up as a reminder the first thing in the morning, but it's always there for me to see as I go into my phone, checking what I am to do today. Is always those 2 reminders that I know the current version of me needs to hear, but also the future version of me needs to hear. So in this moment, I'm able to not go into the thought that tells me I can't have it. They anchor me in this moment and helps me to expand into the future of what I would love to create. And this is really the big part of the practice. And we're talking about becoming an emotionally energetic match to what we would love to create. This is a big part of it. And to repeat this is why I am really, really big on mantras. This is why I am big on journaling, and why I am big on the vision boards, the words, as I mentioned, different reminders, to continuously speak as if this is already true. Has anyone got any questions on that? And of course, as we started speaking about as well, is to just really start to have really honest conversations with yourself about what you're telling yourself that keeps you playing small. This is a really big part of the work, that we are becoming deeply aware of. The general conversation I have with myself every day is X, or when I am about to take action in alignment with my vision, I talk myself out of it because I tell myself X. You know, whatever these things are, to just be really, really honest with yourself, so we can be aware, but also integrate this part. I'm gonna introduce you eventually into shadow work. This is another element to understand our subconscious mind, the one that triggers automatic thoughts that most of the time don't serve us at all. At one point, it kept us safe, but does it anymore? So this is the part that is triggered, the unconscious, i.e. we're not fully aware that this is how we operate, but there is a part of us that thinks that this can't happen for us because of X, or we have shame around admitting that what we really, really want, or it is unsafe for me to show up in the world wanting this, or it's, you know, whatever that story, belief, conditioning is, to just be really, really clear. And you start to become clear about this. This is why I have a lot of journal prompts today. So you start to have that deep awareness around what conversations am I having with myself, and to start, okay, here is the story that I have. This is the belief. I am not just going to push it to the side because this is wrong. I'm going to first of all invite it in, so that we can integrate it. Where does this come from? When is this activated? And continue to do those journal prompts. How much of this story is no longer part of my future? Where am I willing to release? But just really have it all. It's almost like, it can be very easy to, with uncomfortable thoughts or even criticizing thoughts with self, that would just push them away straight away. In order to no longer buy into them, is the first step, is to almost like invite them into a tea party and just understand, these are all the voices in my mind, these are all the different stories, and that is the work as well, to just understand where do they come from, what are they saying, so that we can integrate. They eventually don't have any power, so it's much, much easier to see, when I do this, this thought comes up, it's not useful, I understand what it wants, I'm gonna put that to the side. And this is where you become a powerful creator. And to remember that you are worthy, you are good enough, and you are capable. That could be certain statements as well that you choose to repeat every day. It's even, you know, when you I think when I started to do the work, I was under the impression I had to sit in a meditation pose in order to my thoughts to be valid. That was more enlightened. It doesn't necessarily, the reason why it's good is because you can be very, very present, but I'm more and more playing with just saying certain statements back to myself when I'm just waiting for my coffee. I don't know if anyone has come across a fantastic woman. Her name is Madam Storm. Miss Erica Storm. She's a dominatrix. She's a friend of mine, industry friend of mine. She's incredible. And a couple of years ago, she told me that part of her self-care routine in the morning, she has her mantras, her I am statements, or what she wants to call in. And then when she has had a shower and just put the body lotion on, she just like sets it at the top of her lungs. I am amazing. I'm a divine woman who just serves pleasure and fame and wealth. And she was like, that's my thing. And in the beginning, she said, I'm really scared to even say this out loud. But eventually she said, I don't care if I just say it in the middle of that coffee queue, because I'm so used to just saying that. This is finding your edge and playing there. So this is the last journal prompts we're going to do of the day. So with this new reality, with your vision, with the bold statements, with upgrading to the reality, whether you know and start to align with that this reality is inevitably yours. This is possible for you. This is yours. I want you to take about 10 minutes and journal on this. So this year I invite in XYZ into my love life. My intention for my love life this year, summed up in one sentence, is X. The experience I want to magnetize, as in draw in and attract into my love life this year, is X. I choose to express myself authentically by doing. The interactions that makes me feel connected are. The areas that are most important to me are. I choose to be excited about my love life now, because we're not waiting. As we mentioned in the beginning, a vibrational woman is an embodied woman who enlightens herself. We choose to be excited now before we have the evidence. We will trust that we continue to create it. And over the next 12 months, I want to feel. So you can simply just any words that comes up for you in this exercise. So again, I'll keep an eye on time. For this exercise, I'm going to ask Holly tomorrow as well to just put together and send you the journal form so you can continue to come back to them as well. That was the time. We'll just finish this exercise here. But as I mentioned, I'm going to ask Holly to send you the journal prompts. And as I mentioned earlier, this is, creating the clarity and the vision and embodying this journey is a journey. We call it a journey because it's not from like today until tomorrow. It is continue to create that clarity and notice. And the most important part of all, integration. Integrate, live by all the time. And it might even be the more that you tap into this version of you that is already living this reality, what would she say to yourself now? Dear Åsa, what I want you to know is, what would she tell you right now? So we're going to do the final exercise of this evening. And again, I'm going to put you out in breakout rooms. I mentioned when we first started, and this is something I'm going to continue to remind you about, is to just notice how you feel in your body when you talk about your vision, when you share certain things, different words, different way of being, and just notice what is there. This is how you start to shift that energetic in yourself. So what I'm going to ask you to do now, when we have that, the bold vision and the statement, and you've done these journal prompts, I'm now going to divide you into two in the breakout rooms, and we're going to have 5 minutes each for this. What I want you to do, you just decide who goes first. So say that I go first. I would speak about my vision. So I decided to create XYZ. And once you have shared this, I want you to then share with your person what you're noticing in your body. Just notice what's there. That might be, even going into this exercise, sharing this with you actually feels quite scary. Or I'm already judging myself that I've said something that sounds really silly, or whatever, or my heart is beating really quickly, or I feel so excited, it's all goosebumps, show me the way, I'm in, whatever that is for you. So the first person shares her vision, and then you share just how you're feeling in your body, just notice what is there. And then the person listening, I want you to share how you are feeling in your body listening. Yeah. So there's any feelings that comes up for you. And it's again, of course, always to be kind and respectful, and also to just notice not what you think you should say, but you might say, oh, when you're sharing this, I can feel a lot of excitement, and I can feel that that was really big of you to just share this with me, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. Whatever that sounds like, to really start to feel into. It's all very well to have a vision and to think about something, but the energetic match is how we're feeling in our body. So we do this 5 minutes each. Have you got any questions on this? Cool, let's roll. So it's 5 minutes each. Again, keep an eye on timing. I'll call you back, and yeah, great. See you in a few moments. I'm going to recreate these rooms. Hello, everybody. How was that? Any shares? What did you observe? How was the experience? Right. Any shares? Ksenia, you wanted to share something?
I just wanted to share how wonderful and how open, and just, I think Tina's just perfectly surmised my point of like how keen we all are to kind of talk and share with each other, and like just chatting. I just love how open, and I've been so inspired by everybody, and I just want to say thank you so much, because their breakaway groups have been so nutritious for me tonight, and I am taking so much away from it. So I just want to say thank you, and Tina, thank you for beautifully demonstrating the point. It was perfectly wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah. We'll take one quick share. Just anything. How was that? What did you observe? Anything that came up for you? Just what was your experience?
What I found was really interesting was watching the energy of the people that were sharing, and in one being able to reflect that back to them, and they were like, "Oh, really?" You know, seeing how passionate and important things were, that perhaps they didn't realize the level of importance even when they're saying it out loud. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, beautiful, really good observation. And yeah, this element here, we call it circling. And I'm sure we're going to do this more times as well. And like you, my experience many times have been observing someone. You can just really see there's like, wow, you really light up when you speak about this, and the person knows that it's important, but they're like, oh, really? They're like, oh, your whole demeanor just changed, you know. Beautiful, great. Thank you for that. And also quickly, when we are aligning with what we want to call in and what we would love to create, when we notice that I am now speaking in a way in that a part of me don't think that that's available to me, I'm now telling myself I am basically all the reasons that's why I can't have it. Is these elements always come back to ground, take a breath, come back into your body. These thoughts happens in your mind. So by breathing, this is why you every month is doing breath work, come back to your breath, literally come back into your body, be in the here and now, not the future that hasn't happened or what happened in the past, and invite. So ground, invite in that new reality that you are aligning with. The relationship that I desire is on someone else's vision board too. It is easy for me to make conversation. Love is always available to me, whatever that thing is, so that you start to ground, invite in the new, and release that old inner chapter that tells you all the things as why you can't have it. So repeat: ground, invite, and release. And there are many things that we could go, literally each slide I can do a whole year on. But if there is one thing that I really want you to take away from today, is to start to really notice these internal shifts that you have identified and that you will continue to identify, that comes up as you are creating clarity and taking action that is in alignment for this to be your new reality. Knowing that it's possible for you, knowing it is inevitable for you to live that. The journey that me and the team are here to support you with, just start to take full ownership of those internal shifts that you identify that needs to be released, or maybe it's even somewhere you feel like, oh, this really is like the goosebump moment. How can I create more of that? What else makes me feel like that? You just move differently in the world. And of course, always remember, you are wildly capable, and me and the team are here to support you. In the upcoming month, it is all in the events section in the portal anyway, but just as a recap, because you are new to this format, next week we have a intuitive reading with Lily, you have breathwork with Mel, the following week is a Q&A with me, we have a woman circle wildcard session. The wildcard session, as I'm sure you're aware, but just to point that again, I will invite a new practitioner every month. I am so freaking excited about this element. I've just come across the most amazing women who I have personally worked with, and also women in my one-to-one community. But these are all there for you. Everything is recorded except the woman circle. The woman circle is a pure sharing circle. So, but everything else is recorded. Also for the Q&A, you will always be sent, I think it's 3-4 days out via Holly, a form that you can submit your question. So even if you can't attend, know it's recorded, I have your question. I will only answer questions that have been submitted to the form to just make it very fair. But even if you can't attend, just please submit it still. And in the membership portal under Courageous Momentum, the team and I will create every Monday. I will ask you, what intention are you setting for the week, so that I can hold you accountable and you can hold yourself accountable for, what do I need to hear this week? What am I calling in? We're doing mic drop moments that you get to celebrate for yourself, and me and the team get to observe and celebrate with you. And every Friday we have celebrating you. So we have lots of different prompts within. You will be notified end of this week or early next week about your accountability partner as well. But remember, I know it's a lot of information that is thrown at you as you enter something new. Just take your time and ask any questions, just digest everything that is there. And it's very normal that it feels quite overwhelming to start with as well. I've of course created everything in mind that is going to be simple and easy to integrate and digest. Nonetheless, everything new is just simply new. So take your time, breathe, ask if you need anything. Yeah, and on that note, we're closing for today. Let me know, have you got any questions? You can of course answer them now. And also normally these sessions are only 1.5 hours. We scheduled 2 hours today just because it's new and you might have some questions, and there was some additional information and a tech problem in the beginning. But normally it's 1.5 hours straight. And so, yeah, very warm welcome. I'm so excited that everyone is here and for the journey that we're going to have. And thank you for showing up, and thank you for all the shares. And yeah, I'm excited. I'll speak to you very soon in the portal, and we'll be together again on the Q&A. But until then, yeah, stay courageous. Just, identify some of the things that has most impact to you and start to integrate that. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you later. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.